Moving right along here on Can Sports Chatter, as it is time to talk about some possibly unbreakable records, or just some of the most impressive records the state of Kansas has for high school athletics. And to help us out with the segment, it'll be Jeff Bollig. He is the chairman of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff, appreciate you coming back on the show. I like these segments just to kind of relive some of the records that were set either sometimes decades ago and sometimes not as long ago. And today's kind of one of those guys with a really good high school scoring record for high school boys basketball.
That's right. Semi Ojeleye from Ottawa from 2010 to 2013 scored 2,763 points, broke Josh Reed's record. Josh played out at Brewster and later Kansas State. And Semi, of course, his family moved over from Nigeria. His dad was a doctor. His mother was a nurse. And he's born in Overland Park. Semi was, and picked up the sport quickly. He had a brother, Victor, many people remember, played at Kansas State. But Semi was just a tremendous physical specimen. I mean, he dominated on the court, and of course, playing in 4A mainly, there weren't many people to stop him. So quite a scorer. And of course, he went on to Duke, and then later finished his career at SMU for Larry Brown and Tim Jakovich.
Well, I remember when he arrived at Duke and like just watching some of the early games, and when he would get in, and like he was by far the most athletic player on Duke's roster. Like, I mean, without a doubt, he didn't get as much playing time there, but you could just tell the freakish athletic ability right away.
Wow, he's like I said, so strong, a great wing, very good defender. Maybe not as polished offensively as some of those Duke players we hear about, but he had the build and the strength, and quite an athlete. And you kind of hate to see those kids leave the state, but at the same time, what a great opportunity it was for him. And credit to him, because sometimes you go somewhere and things don't pan out, and you transfer and you kind of don't hear about him again. But he became the Player of the Year in the AAC as a senior, averaged 18.9 points a game and about 7 rebounds. So credit to Semi for kind of rectifying his career. And obviously got drafted, played a few years in the NBA, and then he's now playing overseas.
When you look at that record for boys basketball in high school, the 2,763 set by Semi, in the 2010 and, right to 2013. So you look at the girls' game, and we have multiple players that are over 3,000.
Yeah.
Obviously Jackie Stiles leading the way. But the 2,700 for boys. Like, what do you see the differences between boys and girls? Why there's such a discrepancy, I guess, for the high?
I don't know. I won't say that. Iowa and Oklahoma played 3-on-3 girls basketball. Some of your people may not remember, but you would play 3 people on a defensive end and 3 on an offensive end, and they didn't switch. So if you wanted the scoring record, you better play on the offensive end, right? Obviously, Kansas didn't do that. I don't know. Maybe it's just in the development of the sport. Maybe when, Title IX has helped women's basketball a lot. But in those early years, you may have had someone who's more dominant and kind of controlled the ball. Remind me of my watching my son's youth CYO days when maybe you had 1 or 2 players dominate on the team and they just had the ball the whole time. So maybe you could have an outstanding athlete and just dominate it more. And now as play has developed and more girls over time have been developed, it's much more of a team sport. That would be just off the top of my head, one reason why.
Yeah, and you talk about you mentioned like his ability to reemerge, and like not only when he transferred from Duke and then he went to SMU, like I mean he was stud. I mean, like you could tell he's just waiting for the right place at the right time, and he found that at SMU.
Well, and really with Brown and Jankovich's coaches, his style was perfect for them. That was an up-tempo team. Larry loved to get out and run, and having Semi with that athletic ability, he gave him the kind of the keys to the car. And they also had some other very good players on the team, so they couldn't dedicate everything to Semi. And that's one thing, obviously, in high school. If you are the only player on the team, you may see a lot of junk defenses and keep you down. But 2,763 is quite a scoring figure.
That's pretty good, because I think he put up nearly 1,000 points his senior year. I think he was averaging like 37 or 38 points per game. So That's impressive.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. These young men, young ladies who are setting these career records. I remember I was in Lawrence at the time when Danny Manning was there, and the Lawrence High games were just packed. You couldn't get a ticket. I mean, people wanted to see him and see what he was doing, and I feel it's the same way. Semi a little bit. You know, his record was coming, and there was such a buildup. And I remember reading one article that said that there was an extreme amount of pressure on him. He was feeling that. So good for him. It's good for Ottawa. You know, good to get that. You know, they won state his senior year 25-0. I believe beat Highland Park, another good program. So. Yeah, again, I could see the record being broken, but still a lot of points. And, you know, it took a while after Josh, you know, got his number.
Big time. Jeff, appreciate the time and the insight.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Cole.
Jeff Bollig, the chairman of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, with our Unbreakable Records segment.